There are several ways that I'll demonstrate here on how to get your data from your Axios call into your view instance. So in this case, here's I just put out a simple view instance, and then I have a title, which I'm not really using for this video, but it's just for demonstration. And what I want to do is I want to get some items from my API call into my view instance property. And so this is what I'm attempting to do first. So there's two ways that I can do it that I'm going to demonstrate. First of all, in order to utilize or to get the data from the API, I at least have to create a placeholder or the property in the data for where I'm going to place that response that's coming back from the Axios API call. And you have to initialize it with something. So you have to give it, here I just gave it a blank string. So in order to use it, at least it has to have something. In this case, it's initialized to an empty string. And so then what I've done in this particular first example is once the API comes back, and we're in the then portion, which means that the API call was responsive. I did this in 2 steps just for a visual, and you could do it in 1. But I put the response, so whatever came back in the response.data, remember if you look at what comes back from the Axios API call, you have the data property that has the API JSON text converted into a JavaScript object that you need. And so I just put that entire object into this variable called API. And then in order to get it into my view instance, what I did was I created a method here within my view instance, and it's simply a method that is going to receive that API response, and I'm going to assign it to the array items, so this dot array items. So the way that's looking is I have to refer to my view instance, so I'm going to call app dot and then get to the method I'm interested in running. And then I'm going to send it the response data, which is going to go into response. And so remember that to access a instance variable, I need the word this. So the response is going into here, which is then being placed into my array items. So now I have access to it, and if I want to loop through my array items or what have you. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to comment this out and show you a different way to do it. There's another option, and that's called mounted. And what mounted does is it will do whatever is in here before the actual DOM elements are created on your browser page. What happens in mounted is it takes everything that it's supposed to be doing to create this view instance, and it puts it into memory. So it creates a virtual copy of your DOM in memory, and it does whatever it is supposed to do to it. In our case, we're going to ask it to run that Axios call, and then once everything is completed in memory, then View will paste that or put that onto your actual web page. And so if I use this mounted, and this is called a life hook, and I'll write that down here just so you can see it. It's called a life hook, and this will run before your the actual HTML DOM loads. All right, and so in the mounted, what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste some code in because that will make it quicker. And then you can put the video on pause if need be. So I'm just going to put in a generic URL, can be whatever you need it to be here. And so looks like when I copy and paste it, I didn't put in the correct variable. So don't look yet, don't look yet, don't look yet. Let me make sure. Okay, so we've been using the movie database, which is where this is coming from. But the bottom line is what can happen is, so mounted is before that DOM actually gets rendered on the actual browser page. Go ahead and run your URL request, Mr. Axios. And then if you get something positive back, obviously that's what the response is. Again, you can do this in one fell swoop, but I put it into separate steps just so you can see it. So in this case, I took the response data. In our movie database, then I need the results because that's getting me to the movie array. So in this case, it's returning an array. It's putting it into this variable. And then I'm taking that returned result, putting it into this dot array items, which is also coming up here. So that works as well. And then this was just printing it out so that you can see. Of course, now it's not array items. It's movies. It's array items. So sorry for the misnaming of copy and pasted variables, but this is correct, and this should also do the same thing. So two different ways in order to get our data out of our Axios call into our view instance.